They told you for years black voters were locked in, guaranteed, not even a question. Now, all of a sudden, the rules are changing. The maps are changing in a panic. Yeah, it's getting super loud. Let me show you exactly what's happening.
You know, this decision, we knew this was coming because they've been chipping away at this for a long time. The court said, you know, there's no problem with race anymore, and yet we're fighting every day talking about Project 2025. We know what's happening, and it's going to start happening to women as well. Because all these changes in voting where they're saying you can't use your married name, you got to go get your birth certificate. You know, so this is going to affect a lot of people. Right now, it sounds like it's just affecting people of color. We know better. We knew this was coming. So this is meant to discourage you from voting. This is meant to make you feel like you don't have a voice. You do have a voice. Do not forget that. But do you see it as a step backwards also?
So, right out the gate, you got The View acting like the country just went back to 1952 overnight all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? But notice the playbook, though. It's always the same rhythm. You got steps to this. About 3 steps. Step 1, something changes legally. Step 2, immediately connected to they're trying to stop black people from voting. And then ultimately step 3, somehow women are next. like hold on for a second. We went from redistricting law, to women might lose the right to vote in under 30 seconds. That's not an analysis. That right there is panic mixed with imagination. And then Sonny, jumps in basically saying, if you can't prove intentional racism, then the law is useless. Think about what she's actually admitting without realizing it. She's saying, if people don't openly say they're racist, we can't win the argument. That's a wild position to take on national TV. I'm just saying. But it doesn't stop there because, once that narrative gets shaky, they double down and try to push it further.
We had a civil war in this country, and in the aftermath of that, we had a brief period of black representation all throughout the South when there were fair elections, equal voting power. The first black senators and congresspeople came, and then within a decade, all of that black representation was eviscerated because those southern states moved to suppress blacks' voting rights and redraw maps so that it was impossible for a black person to again be elected, even though some of those states had upwards of 40+% African Americans. And then a movement began. And over the next century, African Americans returned to Congress. In fact, the first one from North Carolina came in the 90s. The black senators started returning. I'm the 4th black elected in the United States history after Barack Obama, number 3. And we started to finally, since the battles and fights, blacks and whites joining together in a rainbow coalition to establish what we have today, the Voting Rights Act. And what the Supreme Court has now done is eviscerate that act. And what you see southern states openly talking about doing now is eliminating black representation, disenfranchising African American voters by drawing creative districts that completely take away any kind of representation. And so when you ask about the history, we all stand. I am here as a United States Senator because of Americans of all backgrounds who joined together in a movement to end this kind of discrimination. And the Supreme Court, with the aiding and abetting of Donald Trump, are now eviscerating those rights. And we're going to see, I think, us plunging back into a world where African Americans from many states, again, disappear from Congress.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. Cory Booker is basically saying without race-based districts, black representation might disappear. Let that sit for a second. Because what that really sounds like is you can't win unless the map is drawn a certain way. Not better ideas, not better candidates, not stronger messaging, just better lines on the map. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. That argument quietly assumes voters themselves can't make independent decisions. It lowers the standards while pretending to protect people. We see through that. And then, right when that starts falling apart, somebody finally starts to, let's just say the quiet part.
My view is that states ought to decide this. A. B, regarding John's argument, I just fundamentally think that the government shouldn't be in the business of dividing us up by race. It's fundamentally racist to divide us up by race. We have African-American members of the House winning in districts across the country with plurality white populations. We are well beyond the issues that were at play.
The issue there is
Yes, but
Clarence
we've
Thomas.
obviously got some serious deficits. We haven't had an African-American Republican governor since Reconstruction. I mean, you know, there's unfortunately imbalance between the two parties.
Republicans tried to elect one in Virginia.
Okay. Well, I'm just
I'm just saying. And then you got a white, and you got a white Democrat who gerrymandered the state. It's all crumbling.
We're going to end this here. Everything is crumbling clearly at this table. Next, speaking of crumbling, the panel is going to give their nightcaps.
And this
states ought to decide this.
right here is why live TV is dangerous, right? Because when somebody actually pushes back, the whole conversation starts wobbling. We haven't had a black Republican governor. Okay. And when there was an attempt, silence. And suddenly it's, well, yeah, that's the moment the script breaks, because the narrative only works if nobody challenges it. If nobody challenges it. The second somebody does, you start seeing how selective the outrage really is. Now, let's zoom out for a second real quick, because this isn't just about one clip or one debate. This is a bigger strategy.
Liberals have no interest in a post-racial society. They may claim that they long for one, but when you want racially gerrymandered voting districts, you don't want a post-racial society. When you want racial preferences in higher education, you don't want a post-racial society. When you name your group Black Lives Matter, you are not practicing post-racialism. The left has no interest in being post-racial, and even though they regularly claim that they do, and I think that's what a lot of people have missed here. If you're a progressive, if you're a liberal, you want to keep race front and center in our national debates. Whether it's relevant to the discussion or not, you want to keep it front and center because you think it works for you politically.
Now, this is the part they don't like hearing, because it flips the whole conversation. If everything has to stay about race, then nothing can never move past race. And that's when things start looking less like progress and more like maintenance, because if the system automatically becomes neutral, a lot of these arguments, they disappear overnight. So does the leverage. Now, here's where it gets pretty uncomfortable for them. Not because of opinions, but this time because of numbers.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now in the numbers is President Trump and the Republican Party are chipping away at the long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here. Look, Trump's approval among African Americans at this point in term one, he was at 12%. You know, he's been losing ground with a lot of people. He's gaining ground with African Americans. He's up to 16% at this point. And you say, this isn't that big of a shift. But I will tell you, Republicans absolutely love this shift that's going on, because Democrats have had such a long-term advantage. The fact that he's actually gaining ground versus where he was in term number one, this has major implications for elections down the line, because Democrats, especially in a lot of these tight races, you talk about places like Georgia, right down in the South, you see this type of movement for Trump actually gaining ground. This could have major ramifications and help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number one, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That is absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now. A double-digit shift away. Democrats, of course, still have the advantage, but it's a 12-point shift to the Republican Party. And I look back through Gallup's records. They sent me their records. And this, in fact, lead that Democrats have is actually smaller than any lead from 2006 to 2021. So Democrats are leading. But again, we're talking about chipping away. Republicans are chipping away at this long-term advantage that Democrats have had among African Americans. We see it in terms of Trump's approval rating, and we even see it to a wider degree among the party ID margin, where all of a sudden there are a number of African Americans who are walking away from the Democratic Party and a number of them who are walking into the Republican tent.
That is very interesting, looking at that past Gallup information.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the race for control in Congress?
Okay, so you see this right here. You see this 51-point advantage that Democrats have, significantly less than you see that 63-point advantage. And what we will note was back in 2024, right, Donald Trump put in a historically strong performance among African Americans. Democrats performed the worst in a generation. Have they gained any of that coalition back from where they fell down to in 2024? But take a look here. Okay. Choice for election among African Americans. Kamala Harris was leading amongst that group in the pre-election polling by 63 points. Are Democrats gaining back any of that ground? It's a 62-point advantage now. Republicans are holding on to the gains that they made among African Americans in 2024. Republicans are gaining among African Americans. They are chipping away at that long-term advantage. The Donald Trump-led Republican Party is making gains among African Americans that we simply put have not seen the Republican Party make in a generation.
Fascinating. Good to see you here. Thanks
Nice
so
to
much
see
for
you,
putting it
This is
together.
the part that got them really uneasy, because this isn't a debate clip. This isn't an opinion. This is data. And yeah, 12% to 16% doesn't sound massive at first, but in politics, that's the difference between safe and we've got a problem here, Houston. You know, especially in places like Georgia, you know, here where elections are decided by inches and not miles. You don't need everybody to switch sides. You just need enough people to stop moving the same way they used to. And that's what this is, a shift. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. And once that shift starts showing up, you know, in real people, how do I say this? That's when the narrative, it really starts cracking.
This message is for you, Donald Trump. Hey, I'm so proud of you, Unc. You going hard, man. Keep going hard for the American people. We appreciate what you're doing. Everybody know they're giving you a rough time, but hey, you keep fighting for us, and we appreciate that, man. This is the first time that I ever really paid attention to what's going on in the White House, and I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I never thought that the president actually could make stuff happen. I thought it was people around him that had to make the stuff happen, but I see the president can make stuff happen, and I see why they didn't want you to be the president, because you speak for the American people, because you show leadership. You show leadership through action. You don't bow down to nobody. You let people know why America is great. And that's how it's supposed to be. They said the tariffs wasn't going to work. Guess what? It's working. You're doing everything, and it's working. And they're mad about it. So keep up the great work. Hey, I love you, Unc, man. Look, I appreciate it. Just keep going hard for us. All right, Unc, have a great day. All right, Megan, stay up.
This right here, this is what they can't control. No panel, no script, no talking points. Just somebody speaking genuinely about how they feel. And whether people agree or not, that's never the point. The point is, it exists. And for years, the story was, this doesn't exist. And now it does. Now you got to explain it instead of dismissing it. So, when you put this all together, it starts making sense why the energy feels different, right? It's not just about one court decision. It's not just about one new segment. It's the realization that the same arguments don't land the way that they used to. And once that happens, you don't get calm discussions. You get panic and aggression. You get exaggeration. You get people jumping from redistricting to losing voting rights entirely. Because, you know, the same old strategy, if it stops working, you either adjust or you get louder. And right now, they're choosing louder. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to put shift. Let's put shift in the comments real quick. Other than that, y'all be safe. Please go check out somebody today. You can quite literally be saving their life. And peace.